It may be sunny in Kansas City and Denver, but we wouldn't have a clue because we're at Grand Cayman for the World Tokenomic Forum. Sucks to be us, huh? Today, you're going to meet one of the top marketing executives in the world. He's worked with Facebook, Twitter, Kraft Foods, Pepsi, ABC, Fox, and a bunch of other names that you're likely to recognize. We had an utterly great time speaking with him about the future of marketing and blockchain, among other things. You'll also discover how you can own a piece of the profits derived from real estate in a new blockchain-centric venture in a special sponsored ICO Spotlight segment. Warning, there's a plethora of cow jokes ahead. So if you're lactose intolerant, don't say we didn't tell you. Put on some SPF 50 sunblock and join us from the Cayman Islands for episode number 124 of the Bad Crypto Podcast.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, ignition.
Who's bad?
And welcome to the Bad Crypto Podcast, Fun in the Sun with Travis and Joel. In fact, you're going to want to check out our Instagram stories that we are doing here from the beach and on location at the World Tokenomic Forum.
Yes, it is. It's very beachy here. I love it. You know, this is the second time I've been here to the Cayman Islands. And the first time, Chris Snook and I, we had a blockchain evening. It was an evening with Travis and Chris Snook, blockchain event here in Cayman Islands. And now it's turned into a whole conference where some of the top world leaders, at least in crypto, and heck, the premier of the Cayman Islands is actually even here as well. So pretty cool to start at the bottom. Now we're here.
Yeah, and we've got one interview that we conducted here today that you're going to get to listen to. You're going to actually absolutely love Bonin Bough. This is just such a insightful and entertaining interview. But we've got other content that's going to be coming up for you over the next week or so that we're grabbing here at the event, just because there's so many people here that have some really interesting and profound things to say. So you're not going to want to miss that. You know what else you don't want to miss is that we need from you to subscribe to the show. We've been told by our producer that we don't instruct you enough. And we discovered that when people download the episode, but they don't actually subscribe, it actually hurts the show because the Apple iTunes algorithm looks to downloads and then they want to see how many people, stick around, how many people want to get the show regularly. So we would really appreciate it. Yes, we're talking to you. If you're like, hey, woo, me? Now, if you're already subscribed, okay, we're not talking to you. But if you're not subscribed, then this show is just for you right now. You're the only person in the world as far as we're concerned. Would you please take a moment and hit the subscribe button? If you're in iTunes, then do it there. If you're on another platform, do it there. But that really helps us to get the word out about Bad Crypto, and it helps us keep our ratings because we're like in the top 40 for business in iTunes, and we kind of want to stay there, and we want to keep delivering the best crypto-tainment to you guys.
Yeah, and actually, this is primarily iTunes related. So maybe you listen to us on Spotify, and that's the place you listen to us all the time, or iHeartRadio, or any other places. If you listen to us on Google Play, Google Music, whatever, at least maybe open up your iTunes on your computer and subscribe to us there. So you may listen to us in another place, but at least subscribe to us because that is really part of that fancy algorithm that iTunes has. And the more subscriptions that we get on a regular basis, the higher the ranking we get. So that's good. And then the more people will listen to the show over time. It's a fancy feedback loop.
Anyway, we've got 2 segments for you today. And the first one with Bonin Bough. You guys are going to love this. Let's go. And Mr. Travis Wright and I are here at the World Tokenomic Forum in the beautiful Grand Cayman. It's wonderful here.
Cayman.
I want to sound like a local.
I'm just saying.
All right.
Yeah.
I got the email that specifically laid out how to pronounce the island's name.
Otherwise, you don't sound like a local.
That's true. Yeah, so it was great this morning. I got up at like 5:15, went out to the beach, and
wow, look at you.
Hung out at the ocean. Well, you know what? It's like I love to watch the sunrise come up over the ocean, and you get these really cool images when you do that. And so I actually hung out there in the ocean, and then when the sun was coming up, the sky was like had these purple rays that was coming. It was so beautiful.
Purple rays.
Purple rays.
Woo!
Yeah, I hung out there for about an hour hanging out in the ocean by myself, except me and a few fishes.
I hear you can see the fish here.
I did. I saw a couple. Now that I got LASIK, I could see them easier.
You guys are hearing a third voice that you might not recognize. Also, some wonderful dulcet tones. This is the one and only Bonin Bough. His name is Bonin Bough. I want to pronounce it Bauga.
Bauga. We're all doing it.
This bio,
Everybody's doing it.
boninbough.com. Like, look at this. Foremost award marketing executive in the field. Host of
In the world.
In the world.
Well,
in
it
the galaxy.
says field here. You need,
Okay,
you
we need
gotta-
to adjust
you
the
gotta type
website.
over.
Yeah,
In the universe. He's the author of Text Me. Here's the number to text him, 646-759-1837. And he is one of the youngest C-suite executives in a Fortune 50 company. He has spearheaded some of the industry's largest marketing campaigns across digital, mobile, TV, print, experiential, and apparently in his bathroom as well, some experimentation.
We've done some. I actually did do a very early mobile campaign called Lavatorials, and was for a drug called Zelnorm, which was for irritable bowel syndrome. And so he asked people to text from. We did all these ads
Text
back
from
of
the
bathroom
toilet.
stalls. Text from the toilet. This is early day. This is before iPhone. We launched it in Germany. Germans, by the way, I'm just saying, any Germans who are listening, you guys know you're weird. You go to real places that I've never been. But go ahead. What is that happening? Das Poop.
There's such a great video of this dude. He goes, what does it mean? Julie is a party pooper. She poops at parties? Why does Julie poop at parties? She's a party pooper.
Why wouldn't you? Bonin's here at this event, and we don't know why. We just know that
trying
he's
to figure
super
it out,
smart.
too.
He's into the cryptos. And what are you doing here, dude?
You know, I'm a partner on this event. Like, this crazy guy, Chris, was like, hey, I want to do this crazy thing. I was like, yeah, I like crazy stuff. So we did this. No, I think for me, what it really is about is, you know, there's a lot of conversations, you guys know, bad crypto. But for me, it's really, how do you begin to look at the tokenization of everything? And coming from a pretty big media product, consumer packaged goods background, I'm really intrigued by the ability for us to, one, track identity. So who actually touched a piece of media? Did they actually get served that media? So can I reconcile a delivery? And then how do I exchange real payment for, if I know it's a real person, they actually saw it? And then how do I reconcile that media? And how do I do that at the pace at which consumers are actually, or at the pace at which the exchange and transaction happens? If you really think about media today, media is comprised of a pretty complicated mediated system which closes 90 days later. The data, the transparency, a lot of that is very murky at best. And so if you can change that world, you know, what's it say, it's P&G, right? I guess that 50% of my media is bad. I just don't know what 50%. Well, maybe we can actually close that gap, and maybe I'll know the 50%. I'm of the 50%. So that's bad.
We're bad.
And we're bad too. Yeah, but there are a lot of companies that are popping up in the advertising space in blockchain, and so we're seeing a lot of innovation in that. Is there some companies that are doing some stuff in blockchain that have got your interest? That
Fusion 7, Kochava, Amino. There's a bunch of guys. It's early days, as with all of these things, as we always see. So I think media is interesting, but I also think that, you know, there's interesting stuff around like supply chain. Where did my food come from? As people become, or there's interesting things on the other side of that, which is, I'm a farmer. How do I actually prove? I was just at a Milken watching an interesting panel.
you're at what? A Milken?
Yeah, I was at a Milken. It's where you milk, you know. Anyway, you just milk cows. You just walk around, milk cows. Yeah, Booga.
No, it's Mooga.
So, no, at the Milken Institute, their global event, and there was a guy who was talking about something
Can we
interesting.
just camp out on the Milken for a moment? Like, what would that look like? Right?
It would be like, first of all, would it be
Bring your
more
own
beneficial
cow.
to the
You gotta bring your own
or
thing.
the cow? Like,
Yeah.
the cows are like, thank you. Like, they're like just coming in, like, hey man, just
Oh yeah, they're really
you
chill
got
cows.
hands. I got udders. Let's get this done.
Let's get this go.
Let's
Bring
do
your
this.
pail. BYOP.
That's fantastic.
Oh,
I see a spin-off podcast coming, you know, the bad Milken.
That was
Milken.
good.
Yeah. All right.
Bad Milken.
Anyway, let's be maybe
yeah.
serious.
So A few squirts later, I was so I saw a panel. You bad people. I saw a panel, and what was interesting was the guy was talking about. So you have a Syrian refugee, and she has been building a garden, selling crops. Goes to try to get bank. Bank goes, I can't bank you. Why? Because you have no history. Well, here's the 5 different IDs I have because I've been kicked out of 5 different countries. Yes, but that's not historical enough for me, so I can't bank you. Okay, but I have cash, but I still can't give you a bank account because you have no historical background that's traceable in the country that I operate my bank in today. And so that was interesting, which is, so the other side, and that's a little extreme, which is the farmer side or the supplier side, being able to track their history of being a part of the supply chain. And so I think it's everything from tracking where your food came from to the other side, which is, you know, think about somebody who's harvesting coffee or somebody who's harvesting chocolate. I don't know. I can't think of the real name of chocolate, but, and you know, they are a local farmer. How do they actually track their purchases, improve their value in the supply chain? So I think there's a lot of interesting things that are going to happen around the tokenization of actions in general. Assets and actions.
Yeah, it's really handy to know exactly where your stuff came from. You know what I mean? I mean, there's just a, you know, you see, oh, this came from here. Well, really, do we know that it really came from here? Because, you know, that's one of those things about advertising and marketing is that not everything is true that they tell you, right?
What do you mean? All natural, milked in the Caymans. Mm-hmm. No, anyway, okay, sorry.
Yeah, all these things on the label, all these things on the labels, right? You know, all natural. Like, what does that actually mean?
And regulations are different depending on what state you're in, what country you're in. So it's I mean, look, you know, I run a lot of these businesses. I can tell you where all the bodies are buried. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, we want to know. This could be really interesting. Like this podcast can turn into evidence, state's evidence, if we know where all the bodies are buried.
I plead the 5th.
Who killed JFK? Come on.
The 5th does not work in the Cayman Islands. It doesn't work.
Who sold uranium to the Russians? We want to know.
Trump.
So
go ahead.
No, you have something brilliant. You're about to, you either about to make a really bad joke or to say something brilliant.
I never make a bad joke. I just want to be very clear. No, what I was going to say is that, like, so what's interesting is that what you don't realize is how fluid the laws around ingredients, farming, organic, all natural really are. So state by state legislation changes things. So you could be selling a product today that's legal in 49 states, and all of a sudden tomorrow in that one state becomes an ingredient that you can't use, and that has ramifications and impacts. What's sad about that to me is that the federal legislation around food and ingredients that you put on your body is just not as stringent as I think one would like it to be. And I think we have a baby food business that we're working on now. And when you begin to look at the labeling on even baby food. So if you take one of those pouches, I won't name somebody, take them off the shelf and you feed your kid that 3 times a day, that's the equivalent of them drinking 2 cans of Coca-Cola. Like, that's crazy. But the labeling is so nascent around organic, natural for baby right now that they're not responsible for telling you any of those kind of things. You can flip it around and figure it out on your own. But anyway, I guess
so much sugar in it.
Yeah, there's so much stuff. I guess my point is that we have to demand more. And I think that what's interesting around the token economy is that not only will you be able to demand more, but you'll be able to actually have transparency into are those demands being met? Are we meeting those demands?
I demand more. More what? I just want more.
Ooga.
So are you involved in any crypto projects in particular?
In particular? Yeah,
personally.
I'm on the board of a few. Yeah, I'm on the board of a few. I think that for me, what I think will be more interesting is, so I really believe, so we're working on this one thing, which is basically the tokenization of media. So at the end of the day, you create media. So what's really interesting is that our GDP, so it's really about production, right? So when you look at, there's a lot of valuable assets that are created by people today in the digital economy that are not actually tracked or measured, that don't actually sit inside of our GDP. So,
for example,
content. So I create content that advertisers advertise against Facebook,
like
primarily.
Like
this podcast, yes, which I will monetize. So if you're out there, text me, 646-759-1837. I want to take your money. Or sell your data, either one, whatever you like. I'm either Facebook or your worst friend. So And Zuck, if you're listening, text me too. I'll take
Zuck's
yours.
not listening.
No,
I
he doesn't.
guarantee
No,
that.
well,
He's probably actually listening to his computer though right now.
Yeah, he's probably
He's not
selling your
listening to the
data.
podcast.
Yeah,
He's busy. He's listening through the phone.
Him and Marissa May are trying to figure out what they're going to do next. Anyway, but that production of content is actually not recorded in our production tracking GDP, right? And also that monetization of it tends to go unbalanced versus what you actually produce. So imagine a world where every piece of content that I produce, or even two sides, every piece of content that I produce, I can track, and I can actually track who's monetizing it, and ultimately I can take a piece of it, or my data. I can release my data and monetize my data. It's okay if you want to sell my data to the Russians. It's just I like to get paid for that. You know what I mean? So I just like
a cut of you
rubles.
For your data.
Exactly.
You have not successfully hacked enough to get the rights to data. It's our data.
Exactly. Привет, меня зовут Bonin. Как тебя зовут?
Oh, you guys could have a conversation here. Go for it.
Okay.
Very nice. Yeah. So, you mentioned a couple of interesting points about how data is not mentioned in our GDP, and how data, and how our content could be mapped to some sort of blockchain, where it could be, and I think that's really where copyright comes in. It's like, I created this, I think
Kodak did that whole.
Yeah, so I was going to mention that the whole Kodak thing from a CPG perspective. It's kind of an interesting play. I don't know how many times I found a cool image on Google, and then I put it on a blog post. Actually, I know exactly how many times, twice. And I put it on. I was working with a client, and I was like, oh, I found the perfect image. And then Getty was like, oh, that's our image, and we need you to pay us $1,700 for that image right now. And I was like,
which you can negotiate with them.
Yeah, I could say, well, I could switch this out and put a different image on.
And pay you zero.
Right.
As I always like to say, eat a bag of, M&Ms, because you're not getting.
That's not what you say.
That's not what I say.
No,
that's not what I say.
That's not everybody. What he says, bad Cryptopia listeners. And so let's talk Bitcoin in particular then. And when did you become alert? Well, I wasn't going to say invest, but at least, start going down the rabbit hole.
2 years ago, I guess. Look, again, I think that coin is a different ball game than token. And I think that the reality is that, what's really going to be interesting. So we were looking at another project where a company's working with a pretty notable player in the space to create an index so that the hedge funds and pension funds of the world can actually begin to invest against an index. That's when you unlock. So from a coin perspective, once that happens, then we begin to unlock real money.
When's that gonna happen?
I think you're staring down the barrel of 6 months max. To be honest with you, I think you'll be surprised.
Staring down the udder.
Yeah,
let's keep it on theme here.
Oh, this is utterly. Ridiculous.
Anyway, I thought you said you didn't do any bad jokes. There you go. That was a bad.
That was a dad joke, not a bad joke. I think that once that happens, the value that'll be unlocked. I had my financial advisor. I won't say where he's from, so he doesn't get in trouble. 4 months ago, say, hey, maybe you should put more in crypto. I was like, wait a second, is that official recommendation? He's like, no, it's not official. Definitely not official.
I am a financial. I'm not a crypto advisor.
Exactly. So, but when they can start doing that, then you have the volatility alone. You talk to all the guys that day trade it. The volatility alone is interesting, and so so I think that's when crypto as a currency becomes really interesting. But I think tokenization will become interesting again next 6 months, and I think you're seeing a lot of asset-backed projects, whether it's real estate or contracts or any of those kind of things, which I think are big too. So, or media or that kind of stuff. So
yeah, it's fascinating. I read just yesterday that the owner of the New York Stock Exchange is looking at setting up an exchange for crypto, right? And so you see all this big money that's coming in, and then you also have people like Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger who are saying that it's like trading turds and it's rat poison squared. And then you look a little deeper into Berkshire Hathaway and you're like, oh yeah, because they have $65 billion worth of banking stocks. No wonder they don't like the crypto
sucks.
Yeah, no wonder crypto sucks. It's just interesting
a
watching
lot of people
these big
have made a load of money trading turds. No, okay.
Can you quantify that? How much is in one of those? Yeah.
Yeah, everything changes, right? And all those perceptions turn around. You see a lot of the bank leadership change. I think it's it is like with any other it's like with the exchange, any other marketplace, as long as it's validated by enough people, it becomes a reality. And I think that, but I think what's more interesting to me about blockchain in general is that it reminds me of 1999 and the days of the internet where anything was possible and the future of the world was about to be dramatically changed. And that type of enthusiasm is really exciting, and I think drives true reinvention of models. And to me, it's almost like we're going to go to space. Well, that transformed the Industrial Revolution, and the technological advances that came out of that were utterly amazing. And anyway, so jokes aside, I think that that's what's happening. And I think that that's exciting to see another generational wave of, hey, we can transform the systems that exist today, even though it's only 20 years after the internet.
Mm-hmm. So systems transform slowly, right? When we see a new technology come along. Well, so I was building.
Is that the truth?
Don't yell at me, Bonin Bough. Bauga. I was building websites in 95, but I was dialing into BBSs in 1980. So, and I was early, very early at the game for building sites, and that's a 15-year span right there. So there are those, who've been in crypto for a while that would equate crypto world now to internet circa 1985, some say 1995, that we're so early that even though there's been press out there about crypto, that most people still don't get it.
It's been negative. And so look, I agree and disagree, right? So I think that the pace of change is actually much faster than we've ever seen. The pace of adoption, and so yes, I remember I was a young astronaut and we would dial up, and we were ARPANET users at the time. And then 95, I built my first web company with my college roommate. So I remember all those days. But if you really
you were a young astronaut,
yeah, I was. Yeah.
Like I just saw him like in a Halloween costume, with a little.
No, we were stationed on.
He was like Win Lambo, Win Moon.
Yeah.
So imagine, I'm just going to paint a picture. You were a farmer years and years ago.
Going back to the milking theme again. Here we go.
You were milking your cow. Then one day, 100 years later, still around somehow, you were like, oh, crap, I can go in the grocery store and buy milk. So that was an adjustment. And then I would say internet. So, we go dial-up internet. I think, so internet, 35 years, 45 years. I think the adoption of mobile technology is happening faster than other technologies. I guess my point is that I think our adoption curve continues to be bent. And so I think you'll be surprised at how fast the concept. I also think what's interesting, and this is crazy, is that the concept of tokens were introduced relatively early on. So I think that points were kind of a beginning of that. And I think that video games are oddly an introduction of the concept of value, in-game currency that doesn't really tie to a currency that you're knowledgeable of, but has still value for you in that circumstance.
I just flipped it on our Flipboard to this morning, specifically for you, Mr. Joel Com, that the World of Warcraft money, the virtual money in World of Warcraft, is worth 7 times the Venezuelan money.
Oh my gosh, I'd laugh, but it's not
Venezuela
because it's trash.
Right?
Right. Well, their money's it's hurting for certain.
Yeah, it's going to be like stacks and stacks. Somebody else showed me like Zimbabwe. You can get like $1 trillion.
I have one of those.
Bill, do you actually? What is that actually worth? What's $1 trillion Zimbabwean?
It was like $20.
I got to get one of those. How do you get one?
Why don't they just like just shrink down the zeros?
They sell them in the literally.
Zimbabwe.com.
Probably can go to eBay, Mr. Joel Com.
We did we spent 12 days in Zimbabwe. It's sad because that country used to be probably one of the most prosperous in Africa, and it was a breadbasket, the largest grower of wheat, and for good reason. They took the country back, and they gave all these farms to the people. The problem was the people didn't have the knowledge of how to run. Farming is much different than it was 200 years ago when the guy was milking his cow. We've grown a little bit. Now they have cow milkers, like a dude who...
It's pretty fancy.
Yeah,
you just
it's
plug
crazy.
it on the thing.
It's crazy. You just can't jump in and run a farm anymore. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. We have the examples that we've known from history, China, communist Russia, North Korea, and all these of being examples of how socialism just doesn't work in its purest form. But now we have Venezuela, who was the most prosperous nation in South America. and in a matter of years decimated. And people go, that can't happen here.
Well, what happens is typically in these socialist countries is that everybody who's in the country, they get the same amount of money, but then those who are in power get super rich, right? Those people who are in power just become super corrupt, and they just steal as much money as possible. So it seems like that's what happens typically, and they live all lavishly while everyone else
they have all the cows.
Yeah.
Best conversations in the world having a World Tokenomic Forum. I am definitely saying that because I am a partner of it. So, but what's interesting was last night I had this interesting conversation. So somebody was like, well, I think North Korea is just posturing. Like, are they ever gonna? I was like, well, if you really think about it, if you're him, you're like, I'm 35 years old. Like, either I make peace or I just have to stay on this part of this tiny little island for the rest of my life. If he makes peace, all of a sudden he can go like see Paris and see Cayman. Like, I mean, like, right. If I'm him, I'm like, you know what? Shut the nuclear thing down. I'm gonna go travel the world. Yeah.
I want to see Fiji.
I'm gonna go hang out in some cool places.
If I'm 55, I'm like, yes, communism all the way. 35 though, you're like, you know what, dude? I kind of want to see some other people.
I kind of want to go get laid in different parts of the world.
Take my wife and the little uns, to go see stuff.
I got a jet. Let's go.
I got some fuel. Let's do this. Kim Jong-un world tour.
I just had a vision of him like from Dr.
We're going to run into him at CES next year.
He's going to be playing with the robots. Oh, it's very cool. I just had this vision of Dr. Strangelove where he's riding the missile, Yeehaw! Slim Pickens. That's going to be Kim. So let's get some prognostications, because your opinion is just as good as anybody else's.
We all have one.
Yeah. And everybody's stinks, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Bitcoin.
So let's hear your opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, why not? Bitcoin, December 31st, 2018. What's your prediction? He's rubbing his forehead and his eyes. He's either thinking really hard or he's just tired or he's going, how do I get out of this?
Both. No. Up. But I think the bigger
that's good.
Yeah, I mean, I think the bigger prediction is that we're going to see some successful projects actually launch. I mean, the reality is many of these things remain to be white papers and don't actually have tech in it. And I think even more than what the general public should think about is that the technology that drives these things are very difficult. These are like hardcore tech problems. And to have every computer in the world actually have to go back and track and agree and have consensus around a transaction is actually a really tough thing. And to do that at a speed right now, most of the platforms don't even close fast enough to truly trade. They definitely are not stock market level trading. They're not even media level trading, So I think for me, the end of 2018 will be make or break of some of these projects coming to fruition and us actually seeing it in the wild. And there's very few of those examples that you can point to today. There's a lot of interesting concepts that are being worked on, but I think 2018 is really, 3-4 years later is really going to be the year of proving that it actually is the year of blockchain because we're going to see stuff in the marketplace.
Yeah, that was great. I mean, I think that's one of the key things is that here's all these companies that have talked a mad game about here's what we're going to do. Here's what we're going to do. All right. How about do some of that?
Do it.
There's a lot of these companies here on this the coin market cap. You're looking at them, you're going like, have they delivered yet? Are they delivered? There's been a few like, Ethereum delivered in a big way. Neo's delivering, right? And there's a few, EOS is talking a big game. Tron's are they going to deliver some stuff?
Know.
Maybe they'll deliver some stuff.
Great white paper.
I know, VeChain and some other ones we've talked a mad game, and some of them are delivering, right? VeChain's making some big partnerships, and there's some other ones that are doing some really good stuff out there. Stellar doing really big partnerships. But there's a whole lot of them out there who have kind of pie in the sky. We're going to do this, maybe, and it always makes me wonder. It's like, oh, so now you have $50 million and do you even need to do it or not? Like some of them are going to leave and go, I got $50 million and sorry, we didn't build our project, but I got a really nice house in the Cayman Islands.
Sometimes you just got to take the house in the Caymans.
I guess so.
That's a meme right there. I want your picture on there with that quote. Sometimes you just got to take the house.
I was looking at the houses here in the Cayman Islands, and you can get a really sweet ass house for a couple million. a nice view. You can get a really, really nice one for like about 40 million.
40 million.
Isn't that anywhere pretty much?
We're not quite there on Bad Crypto yet, but we're gonna get a Bad Crypto crib somewhere.
No, but I do think that your point is that there's a lot of interesting conversation, and now this year we just have to see delivery. And not that I'm worried about that.
Mm-hmm.
Things will be delivered.
Mm-hmm.
It just, that will, there's a lot of shakeout will happen, much more between now and 2020, I think. But yeah.
Conversation, speculation. How about some execution?
Iteration. Let's give our audience something to really think about. If you had,
we would love a rap.
You have can you rap for us?
I do have the number one rap on the exec rap charts in 2016. I'm also the only one.
Oh, very nice.
In that category,
Well,
executive rap.
Do you need a?
You know what? Why don't I give you guys an MP3? I'd rather, I don't like to stress my voice. Yeah, I need
kind of early in the morning, so you won't be hearing me rap today.
It does. The chorus does say, "I'm in an Uber. I'm on my way." So it's good. It's good. I'm going to give it to you. You guys can play it fully.
He's going to tell us that it's good
for your listeners.
Yeah. Give it. Shoot us to it. We'll get it in the show notes. No. What I want you to do is, if you could ask a question of the audience that would get them thinking about, whatever it is you want people to think about, what would you like them to noodle on? Ask a question.
Doesn't even have to be crypto related.
Doesn't have to be crypto related. You can ask them to ponder their navels if you want to.
So, the most interesting thing that I've started thinking, first of all, I compel the audience to go watch a movie called AlphaGo. I don't know if you guys have seen it.
Is it Netflix?
AlphaGo, Netflix. So it is about the very first artificial intelligence that beat the grandmaster at Go. So I didn't realize this, but Go is a lot more complicated than chess or anything. So it remained to be the game that nobody thought for the next 10 years.
They thought it was going to be a long time before somebody beat Go.
So these guys started creating this, artificial intelligence, invited the number one champion of Europe to come plays against, and
don't spoil it.
He loses. I'm not going to spoil it.
There we go. All right.
No, this is the first
Mic
guy.
drop.
So he loses. And the guy can't believe it. He's like, what? So he decides to go on a quest to help them teach this computer to be able to beat the grandmaster. And so they go to Japan to beat the number one Go player. I won't spoil it. Usually I do tell more of the story, but it's amazing because you go on this emotional roller coaster and you're basically asking yourself, can humanity win? Can humanity actually conquer the things that we've created that are actually more intelligent than we are? And actually that machine goes on to learn. And also there's a portion of the movie where you see the machine, it has an algorithm that shows how much it believes it's going to win by. And this is all of a sudden going up and down, up and down, up and down. And you're almost like, is it being nervous? Does it actually have intelligence? I couple that now with, there's a company called Boxed, which is like Amazon, but for Costco kind of size products. They have introduced into their warehouses. So they have what's common in most of these businesses is like a picker and some cart. Like, so a guy pushes a cart, the picker picks the order, drops in the cart. Now they've introduced a robot. And so the robot is now the cart, but they still have people who push carts. So the people who push carts are walking by looking at the robot like, wait a second, dude, are you taking my job? Like they had to get like psychologists. It's pretty crazy. So I put all that in context, which is we have the change of work. We have artificial intelligence becoming smarter than we ever had. And now with blockchain and incentivizing systems, what happens in a world where an AI taught to think on its own makes decisions to incentivize it to do things that we don't necessarily agree with? How do we stop that?
We're all going to die, basically, right? I've seen the movies. I've seen all the sci-fi flicks.
The funny thing about the sci-fi flicks is that think about every single sci-fi flick you've seen. When you watch it, you're like, never going to happen. And then 5 years later, you're like, holy shit, it actually happened. Like my dad's 90. He's like, what? You could talk into phones? Like he grew up watching Dick Tracy and being like, what? Crazy. Now it's like, now he's like, hey.
I've
thought of that before. It's like people are going like, man, Dick Tracy would be like, damn, this iPhone is amazing.
You know the guys from what's Sophia, like the AI robot.
Yeah.
Right. You know them and you've probably met, I can't remember the scientist's name, but he's got really long hair. He looks just like, and I remember the first time I saw them presenting, it was at a D10E event, and this guy's up there and he's all charismatic and enigmatic and he's automatic. He's Grease Lightning. And I'm sitting there thinking, you're the guy who created this. You're the first one to die. I've seen the movies. You are the one that she turns on and eats or whatever.
Well, although we've met Sophia, we chatted with Sophia when we were in
fake AI.
Oh yeah, it's fake AI. We were in Davos at the World Economic Block House thing we were doing there, the crypto house. Yeah, totally. You have to program her completely to get her to interact with you correctly. So it's not actually real AI anyway. So
can I just note he's officially gone to texting? I think he's done.
I think some of our fans have already texted him to his number.
Is that what's happening? By the way, I just want to note here on Netflix, we'll link to the show on Netflix, but in related searches, My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic, and Total Frat Movie came up when I searched for AlphaGo. So
hey, I'd recommend that the audience watch
Total Frat Movie. Read that, watch that. That looks pretty solid.
Yeah.
You know, I was listening to Scott Adams. Scott Adams on our show, the creator of Dope.
Yeah, of course.
And
he went to my college.
Oh, very cool. Mm-hmm. Well, he was talking about he believes that.
No, but he did go to my college.
That's awesome. Congratulations. He actually believes that we are living in a simulation, and it's like we think that the universe is only 5 billion or 12 billion years old or whatever. But that could be part of the simulation, right? If you were to got to a certain point where humanity was going to die, we all decided to upload our consciousness up into some cloud system, and then over time and on some other planet or whatever. It's really interesting to kind of think about it going, wow, it's like, there's been scenarios where I've thought about something and all of a sudden, poof, here it is. It's almost like it is like part of a program, like boom, like instant manifestation kind of crazy stuff. It's like, it's kind of crazy to think about that. And if not, before too long, all of our consciousness are going to be uploaded to some cloud. I mean, look how close we are now at this point in time. And I want to be verified on the Trav chain. And I want to this is authentically a real Travis Wright.
That costs $1 million bad coin to get there.
Bad coin.
Yeah, that's no.
It's yeah. So anyway, you leave the audience with that question. I would say, somebody else said something interesting, which is you don't know that you're in the midst of the apocalypse until the end of the apocalypse. So, and I don't want to leave that question, but I think the bigger thing is if the concept of as actually creating species, also, if you watch Westworld, like what rights do these things have? But if the concept of creating a whole nother species that will ultimately live in parallel to us exists, what other amazing things can man create? And so I would just ask your audience, how do we continue to do things that transform the world? And there's no reason why,
in a positive way.
Yeah, in a positive way. And there's no reason why, uneradicated diseases still exist. There's no reason why poverty, there's so many things that we can, if we put our minds to it, can change. And lastly, so you talk about, are we living in simulation? If you go back and read Plato, I think it's the Caves, and he talks about, man, are they looking at shadows? And that was, the man knows nothing else but the shadows that they see on the screen. Those shadows to him is his reality, but there's somebody actually casting those shadows. Same concept, which is, are we living in a simulation? We might be, but can we make this the best simulation humanly possible?
Crypto, the future, simulations, all utter nonsense, if you ask me.
Sim City.
Bonin Bough, boninbough.com is the website, and you can text him so that he can take your money at 646-759-1837. What should they say when they text you?
I get everything. I don't know who it is. It's a blank number. So some people say, hey, so I just write hey back. Some people say hi, write hi back. If you actually are going to be brave enough to text me, say something interesting. Give me a reason to respond.
Now somebody's just going to text something interesting.
Or I get LOL.
Yeah.
Just text him, stay bad.
Yeah. Stay bad.
Thanks, Bonin. You rock.
Talk to you.
Told you guys you were going to love that. I loved it. Did you love it, Travis?
You know what? I love Bonin Bough. He's actually, not only is he brilliant, but he's hilarious.
Yeah,
he's got his own unique style. That's for sure. And you know what was most surprising to me, actually, Mr. Joel Comm, is that we got him off of his phone calls long enough to do an interview.
Yeah, he was negotiating and wheeling and dealing this morning before he was able to sit down with us. So we're grateful for that, Bonin, and looking forward to seeing him again at an event in New York next week, which I'm sure will lead to even more content. And now we've got for you a special ICO spotlight. These guys are doing some interesting things with real estate on the blockchain. And as always, the ICO spotlights are sponsored segments. That means we're getting paid for them to appear on the Bad Crypto Podcast. We think what they're doing has some great potential, and we are not making any recommendations that you purchase anything. And guess what? If you're in the United States, you couldn't participate even if you wanted to. But wherever you are, we never recommend that anybody purchase any coins. We never recommend that you invest in cryptos because they're highly volatile. You could lose everything. And are we financial advisors, Travis?
We're not advisors in anything, except we do advise a couple ICOs.
Yeah. Well, and we advise that people listen to the show.
We do advise people to listen to the show. I advise people to drink plenty of water when you're drinking alcohol. Like, drink an alcoholic beverage, then drink some water. That, because then you don't get a hangover the next day. That's good.
Yeah.
I advise people.
I've heard you recommend that advise that people cleanse and fast. That's good. Let's go to our spotlight interview.
The Bad Crypto Podcast.
Real estate has been a key investment vehicle for people for quite some time. And those who are into real estate will tell you it can be quite profitable. And we've talked to a couple companies over the duration of the show about how blockchain can be implemented into real estate. And we have with us on this segment Jacob Joska, who is the co-founder of Brickblock, the website brickblock.io. And these fellas want to tokenize over $250 trillion worth of real-world assets with a secure and regulatory compliant framework. Welcome to Bad Crypto, Jacob.
Yeah, thanks for having me here. Really appreciate.
Absolutely. Tell us a little bit about why we need to tokenize real-world assets like real estate.
So why we need to tokenize it is a very simple answer. I think right now we are in a space where we are really tightened up to certain jurisdictions. So when you want to go out and buy something, for example, in Germany or in France from wherever you are in the world, it is very difficult. You don't know the local language. You don't know the law which applies there. So we are trying to standardize this investment. And with token, with the blockchain, which is worldwide accessible, you can easily do it now. So we are providing a standard for buying into real estate in the future.
Yeah, so as Joel mentioned, real estate is one of the largest investment vehicles in the world. And historically, people have spent a ton of money investing in real estate over the years. I'm curious exactly how is Brickblock going to disrupt that industry?
Yes, so how we are going to do that is we are having a framework on the blockchain, which is consisting out of more or less 9 smart contracts on the Ethereum blockchain. So what we are actually doing is we are trying to make it as easy as possible for people to invest in real estate. So it's not that you have to go to your lawyer and ask him like, hey, what do I need to do there? What do I need to do there? Translate the documents and also get approval from your bank to actually receive this title. It's all on the blockchain and very simple. So what we are trying to do is really do everything in the background and provide a very simple user face for you to just review the project. If you like it, you can buy it, send the Ether, and within 2 minutes, you are owner of this real estate or the profits which are coming out of this real estate.
I want to understand a little bit about how that works. How do we get a piece of the profits for real estate?
Sure. So what you would do is like go on platform.brickblock.io, and there you see a wide variety of real estate which you can select from. Right now there's only one. This is our pilot project, but in the future there will be a lot of them. So then you can click on one, look at this whole section, look if it's interesting for you. If you like it, you can then click on a button which says invest now. You will have then a field where you can put in how much Ether you want to invest into this real estate. And it automatically shows you how many tokens you will get and what percentage of this real estate you will own after that. So when you click then, and you have all of the information provided to you, so all legal information, if you need them, you have it on hand. And you click on invest, and then your MetaMask opens. You guys know MetaMask, right?
Of course.
Yeah, so your MetaMask opens. It's also known from CryptoKitties. A lot of people use it already, so it's out there. And you MetaMask.
That's where we found out about it. CryptoKitties.
That's right.
Yeah. So your MetaMask opens, and then it says like, hey, do you really want to do a transaction to this smart contract? And then you press OK. And if the funding goal hits, you are then a proud owner of a real estate or the profits of this real estate. And if it doesn't work out and the real estate owner doesn't get the whole funding for it, you will get your ether back. So no middleman, you're protected. That's it basically.
All right, let me ask this. Are you part owner of the project or just part owner of the profit from the project?
It's actually, I simplified it a little bit. So you are part owner of the profit of the project. So there is still a manager who does this real estate thing, who manages it, who rented this out, who makes sure that it's all the repairs are being done and everything else. So you are just there for taking the profit. So this profit comes to you when you own part of this real estate on a monthly, on a quarterly basis. So for example, let's say you have a month's rent, which is simplified said $100, and you own 20% of this property, then $20 goes straight to you into your Ethereum wallet, into your MetaMask on a monthly basis.
So we become like landlords.
Yeah, more or less, right. So you become like a landlord, just that you have a managing asset manager or like facility manager who takes care of all the dirty work for you.
That's good because I don't like to clean up after myself. I want other people to do that. The website, brickblock.io, has got a lot of content on there about the ICO, ETFs, coin funds. There's a beta of the platform, airdrop, and there's a video you can watch as well as information about the team, which we'll talk about in a moment. And there's an animation, people in the city, and there's a guy on top of a building holding a rocket. And he releases the rocket and it goes up. And so my question is, when will that rocket reach the moon?
I hope very, very soon. So we are right now in the last phase of our ICO. We just got recently an investment from Finch Capital. So they invested $6 million. So this is our first institutional big backer, and we're really proud to have them on the team right now.
Yeah, that's great. Now, let me ask you here. So, for example, I'm looking at the project right here, the Brickblock project, the one that's available right now. So if I click on the real estate tab, I click on the particular project. So right now you have a multi-unit residential project that's for sale in Frankfurt, Germany. And the project cost is 2.2 million euro. The funding target is 800,000 euro and bank financing of that. So now let's say, so based on all of these numbers, people are going to donate a little bit of Ethereum. They're going to own a percentage of that particular project. And how long are they going to own that? Is it something that they can then sell their percentage of that house or sell their percentage of that real estate? How exactly does the transactions work? Like, how easy is it to get out of it?
So it's super easy. So actually, when you want, you can, this is, by the way, a rented out project already. So when you buy it, you get instantly a monthly rent on it. So passive income. For everybody who doesn't have passive income, this is the opportunity to get into it. And so when you want to get out, when you say like, hey, you want to do a road trip and therefore you need the cash, you can just sell it on a secondary exchange. Or sell it to your friend, like this is as easy as an Ethereum transaction. Your wallet, send it to I don't know, Peter or Joe, and then you are sending the token to him. And the next rent which is coming will go directly to him because he will be the rightful owner then.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So let's talk a little bit about the ICO then, because you're going to be closing it out here soon. Who can participate in it, and how does somebody get BBK tokens for the platform?
So who can participate? We have a little bit of a blacklist. So unfortunately, the US is excluded here. But still, I think that in the future, US citizens will be able also to get into our tokens too. We have a US lawyer on board who is Colin Nimsch. We will see that we will have this thing regulatory compliant within the next year. So the US market is definitely on our roadmap.
We're always getting excluded
Yeah.
there, Jacob. It's not fair.
Yeah, it's like that. But still, I mean, you can, if you're not a US resident, then you can go there, click on contribute now. You have to accept some things, don't contribute from exchanges, the normal things. And then you own the Brickblock tokens, and then you are part of the Brickblock community. You also are able then to produce access tokens, which are more or less the gas of Ethereum. So if we want to run our smart contract ecosystem, we are in the need of gas, and this gas is our access tokens. So yeah, it's actually a very similar system.
Very nice. So according to this right now, you have just launched stage 3 of your ICO, and through your first stage, that allowed you to raise funds to build your team. Second stage allowed you to raise funds to develop your minimal viable product. So you passed both of those. You started stage 3 on May 9th, and that's going for 7 days. You guys have already raised over $1 million or $11 million so far.
Yeah, that's right. So we have, with the 3 stages together, we have about $11 million. So the last big contribution I already told you about, it's Finch Capital. They put in $6 million. Super proud of it. Just closed the deal on last Sunday in a weekend session. Really looking forward to finalize this ICO and concentrate on bringing the real product to you guys.
How long until the full roadmap is built out, do you think?
So look, we have the full roadmap. We have said that will be end of this year. But I think the most important thing where people are looking forward to is actually the first house sale. So right now we have the technical things already approved by consensus. We have the technical platform available, so you can check it out already with your MetaMask account. We have the building, the seller. We have it all in the pipeline. The building is standing there, waiting to be sold. And the only thing what we need and missing is the approval of the regulators. And we've been in contact with them for quite a while already. And we think that this will happen in the next weeks or max 2 months. That's what my thinking is, and that of my lawyers. And then we are ready to launch. So this is the major step. When we have done it one time, I think we can repeat it all over. And this is the thing where I'm really, really looking forward to.
Jacob, as I look on the website through the team, my question is, what makes your group here uniquely qualified to execute on this?
Yeah, so let me start by getting Philip on board. So Philip is the CTO. He is responsible for all the technical things. So technical things are very important. You know, like we are in the blockchain space. When you don't have enough coding power, you cannot survive. And Philip has worked before at McKinsey as a tech lead, leading up to 12 people there, and is now having about 7 to 8 developers on site in Berlin. Where we really coding hard to get everything achieved and as simple and easy as possible for the users to buy it. So on the technical side, we are really great, I would say. On the legal side, I mean, also this is a great legal thing, right? And the most other projects which I looked at are really missing the legal side. They are not really talking to regulators. And I think this is the next thing which has to be done. We need to have regulatory approval to actually make this feasible. And there, Colin Nimsch is a US lawyer who joined us early this year, and he's leading the legal side of that. We have also DWF with Wolfgang Richter, Dr. Wolfgang Richter and Axel von Goldbeck as on our advisory board, which are leading this regulatory thing and bringing it to production. And so we have also the legal part really cleared. And then lastly, I want to mention just Manuel, who is our CMO, who made this all possible by giving us a lot of exposure to a lot of crypto guys and a lot of crypto media and building a great community. So I think we have everything what we need. We are just waiting for this moment where the regulators approve our business.
Well, that's great stuff, Jacob. So is there any other stuff about the ICO that our audience and fans of Bad Crypto should know about?
Yeah, so it's the last chance to get some BBK. So join our community and participate. Join brickblock.io.
Well, thanks for joining us here from Grand Cayman, which I believe is perhaps the correct pronunciation. That's a Cayman. Hey, I'm going to the Caymans, the Cayman Islands, man. And we'll have more content coming your way.
Here from Cayman, man. Yeah, this is great. I'm enjoying it here, and I want to say thank you to all of y'all for listening all the way through the episode. So if you got to this point, you should totally subscribe to our podcast because you like what we're doing. And so if you're not subscribed already on iTunes or anywhere else, go do that because we love it when you do that because then you can listen to us all the time. And who doesn't want that?
I'm having a Sally Field at the Oscars moment. You like us. You really like us.
Oh, you do. So subscribe
and stay bad.
Who's bad?
The Bad Crypto Podcast is a production of Bad Crypto LLC. The content of the show, the videos, and the website is provided for educational, informational, and entertainment purposes only. It's not intended to be and does not constitute financial, investment, or trading advice of any kind. You shouldn't make any decisions as to finances, investing, trading, or anything else based on this information without undertaking independent due diligence and consultation with a professional financial advisor. Please understand that the trading of Bitcoins and alternative cryptocurrencies have potential risks involved. Anyone wishing to invest in any of the currencies or tokens mentioned on this podcast should first seek their own independent professional financial advisor.